Hello, welcome back to the Mover and Gonky show after Christmas special.
Hello, everybody.
High Command said no.
High Command said no on Christmas Day, but
High
happy belated Merry Christmas or Merry Christmas to everybody out there.
The tree up, so it still counts. Happy after Christmas, Merry Christmas. City Kwanzaa, Happy Kwanzaa.
Pretty sure it is.
Hanukkah.
Dude, I'm even lucky to be here now. So
yeah, you're lucky to be here.
Correct.
Welcome.
Story of my life.
Those of you that are watching live, those of you that are listening on the podcast, probably driving somewhere. I watched or listened to 2 episodes on my way to family.
Nice.
It's a 2.5 hour drive, and it's about a 2.5 hour podcast because we went really long last time. But you learn things when you listen.
Yeah, what we can do better.
Yeah, what can we do for you? So anyway, we've got a show today. I'm not going to say it's a good show. It's just a show. Gonky, how was your Christmas there since we weren't working?
Yeah, it was good. No, I've got young kids, and Santa Claus is real, and to pull all that off takes a little bit of magic. So that's kind of what my wife and I were doing, basically full time. Make that magic happen, and it's fun. One of my old skippers told me, with kids, he told me, what's new for them is new for you again. And that's so true. It's pretty fun to just kind of sit there and watch things happen. So did that, hung out with family and friends. Christmas Day, we just stayed home in our pajamas and watched the kids play. But yeah, it's pretty low key. How about you?
Do you have matching pajamas? Are you one of those couples that does the matching and takes the picture? Everybody has to wear the same. I would do that if I could find a woman and we could all wear Dale Earnhardt pajamas. Well, first of all, let's just stop it. I could find a woman. So if we could get past that first caveat, then we can talk about Dale Earnhardt PJs.
My wife loathes the way that I dress myself. So she just. Yeah,
she doesn't like the Mover and Gonky merch.
No, actually, she does. She actually does. But yeah, it's everything else, man.
Yeah. Hey, man. Well, so Miss Lunabelle, she shows up. I got the camera working this time, I hope. If she shows up, Santa Claus was good to her. She got a whole haul of stuff. I got rope. So there's that.
You got coal?
I literally got a rope, dude. Yeah. So anyway,
Doug, how was your Christmas, man?
yeah, Douglas, let's talk about something less depressing. You got something from Mover.
I did. I got a Luna Challenge coin.
Nice.
Yeah.
New prize possession.
And a
Two
card.
cards, one of which immediately went to my wife.
Yeah, because there's two of y'all. Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you say car or card?
Cards.
We're not that big yet, Gonky.
All right,
once we go global, then maybe. But
it's the
as of
disability
right now, with only 254 people watching presently, there will be no cars. We're not Oprah.
I was scrambling looking.
We're not Oprah or a man named Scobie that can promise.
That's true.
Yeah. So anyway, let's move on before we get super fired. How's your neck, dude?
Yeah. So Mover and I spent like pretty much all of Friday doing a
5
nonstop
hours of TCS.
BFM. I mean, literally, right? Take off parallel runways, climb it up, take a cutaway. And even though we weren't pulling G's, literally like 2 hours into it, we sounded like a bunch of old farts. Like my neck hurts.
Stop caring at that point. It's like, just kill me. Just get it over with. I don't care anymore.
Yeah, the the normal range of motion is fine, but then when you really crank your head around, even though you're not pulling any G's, like I don't know if it's like old injuries coming back, but yeah, by the end of the day, man, I was even doing the hold your push your head over there with your other hand thing to help out, but plus the VR goggles, right? I mean, I don't know how much it weighs, a couple pounds maybe, but it it was my neck. How was your neck?
No worse than usual. I mean, when you've got a herniated disc, it pretty much hurts all the time. So, I mean, it doesn't make it worse.
Yeah.
It's just, it is.
Yeah. Mine hurts now.
Yeah. It doesn't hurt now. It's just the usual number of pain stuff. But, it's good. I'm glad we're doing that. And hey, so the plan is for this DCS dogfights. First of all, we are not like all the
good
channels. We're not like, what is it? The growling sidewinder guy, the other guys, the British or Kiwi or whatever they are, the ones with the weird accents. We are not those people. So when we go
different accents,
they're different. They're not Margot Robbie, but they're not, it's not. But anyway, we're not those people.
No. So
when you guys watch these videos, please watch them as if it's Mover and Gonky, not some official test.
It's a couple of buddies going out just having a good time.
Yes.
Who really used to do things like this in real life, but
Grim Reapers. Enjoying it. Somebody said Grim Reapers. There you go. So I don't know. I don't watch. I watch nothing because I'm not going to watch that. That's not interesting to me. But so like I can know half the jets we map the controls the morning of. So there's no curves. There's no inversion tables or whatever. There's no like super secret thing. Every time I tried to gun Gonky, the jet would start doing this because I can't find motor skills. And I think you had the same problem too. Although somebody believes in face shots, so to speak.
Well,
and
because I would take him in real life.
Sure you would, Gonky.
I would.
Sure you would.
Look,
the skill is for training, the guns track. The skill is the guns track. If you're gonna
a kill is a kill.
Whatever. I'm just, you know what? That's fine.
How is a face
99%? Because you know what? One is domination, and one is you got lucky.
Well, then why? Hey, then why take BVR shots? Because they're all face shots.
Because it's a missile.
Well, what's the difference, dude? Bullets are little missiles.
We're gunfighting like men. And you're out there sissy slapping with little pimp slaps, and it just happens to work.
I will say this. In DCS, beyond about a half a mile, I can't tell the aspect very well. Which is part of the reason why I'm like, I'm just going to shoot. I'm not sure if it's planned for him. Right? There's a couple times like, are you coming at me or going away?
Yeah, that is a thing. Where's the nose pointed? Well, sometimes... Well, there was that one time where you didn't know where the nose was pointed because I had departed the aircraft.
So that's right.
I was just falling like this.
Right.
I was in the vertical notch, but I wasn't intending to be. because apparently the paddle switch on the Su-27 is an on-off switch, not a hold it switch. So once you get into that regime, you're done.
She's on.
So
she's on.
it's a lot of fun. So we're going to release one video a week, assuming Gonky can keep up with that.
Yeah.
Starting with probably the funniest one, P-51 versus the Hornet. And every week we'll take a couple minutes to talk about it on this show to primer it.
Yeah. And first of all, I have to huge plug for Butch and Mike over at Wings.
Yeah.
I don't have my own system, DCS airplane.
Same reason we didn't do a show like last night. Continue.
And Mike, the guy, he always steps up. I mean, there was stuff he bought, just so we could make this happen. And then, I get there, it's his off time, man. He didn't have to come in there, and he's getting everything set up and, helping me out. Cause I have a hard enough time getting this little show going technology wise, but, just awesome. If you're ever in Pensacola, you got to swing by Wings. It's a little museum, and Butch was there. I only talked to him for a couple minutes, and he had a bunch of old pictures from his Tomcats, because he was a Tomcat guy. And
is he real?
It's funny. Yeah, he's real. But like, I was getting ready to leave because I didn't want to bother him. He had some customers there, and he just said, "Hey man, come here. I want to show you these stories or pictures." And he started. Every picture had a story, and he told me, he said, "Man, there's so many good stories here." One of them was one of his best friend who got killed. He ejected out of a Tomcat, hit the tail.
Oh, geez,
but I mean, just all the stories. So go in there and talk to those guys. Throw my name around, and just enjoy it. But if it wasn't for them, I wouldn't. I don't.
Did you get any deep intel while you were there?
Wrong Rio. Mover.
Yeah, so it's awesome. And I will say, as another limp fact, Gonky had probably the best DCS setup you can imagine.
It's pretty good
in the world. Does it move? Does it move?
It has the race car seat that vibrates and turns a little bit. So that's good. The biggest improvement that they did was last time I played it, the stick was way far forward, but they put the stick
simulated, sir. You did not play.
Yes, they moved the stick back in the simulation where it would be in real life. So that helped tremendously. But awesome. It was awesome, man. It was awesome.
You had quite the learning curve. So it's awesome. We did. I think I counted. I think we got between 12 and 14 videos. So 12 to 14 weeks. And so this week we're starting with that. And I made this cool little intro for all of them. Check it out. Wait for it. I covered it with the DCS doc. Anyway, so I made one of those.
Like, honestly, starting with the P-51 mover, set the little primer, but I think, mover, you'd agree with me. I was shocked. I was
shocked,
completely floored by how deadly the P-51 is.
Well, I went back and so watching it as I'm editing, I didn't realize you made the same comment I did, because so the way we did this was Gonky started in the Hornet and I was in the P-51, and then after I talked a whole bunch of trash, we swapped roles, and I kept complaining, and I was like, why? And I kept saying, I was like, Gonky, the reason this is so difficult is because we're starting at 220 knots. This is not Hornet territory. We're already in the flats here, and the P-51's like, this is great. Now,
but even the rate fight.
Well, because it's already. I mean, it's like if you went and fought a T6 Texan 2 or an A10, you'd see the same thing. That's why they call it hog popping, because they do the circle the hog things, and we kept getting suckered into it because we'd be like, let's do it a beam set, and it's like, dude, this is terrible.
It was eye opening. I'm not gonna lie.
It was quite fun. So we did. Let me see if I can go through all the ones we did. We did Su-27 versus an F-18. So at first we just did Hornet versus me doing something different. And next time we go, we're going to swap roles, and Gonky will be in the something different, and I'm going to be in the Viper. So we did Hornet versus Su-27, Hornet versus MiG-29, Hornet versus Mirage 2000, Hornet versus Tomcats, Hornet versus F5, Hornet versus MiG-21, Hornet versus F-86, Hornet versus P-51, P-51 versus P-51, P-51 versus BF-109, Gonky and a
Another
Tomcat.
shocker.
Gonky and a Tomcat versus me and the F5. Gonky and the Tomcat versus me and the Hornet. What else did we do? Does that cover it? I mean, anyway, it's about 12 to 14. So one a week as we go, and I think it's pretty exciting. I
used to tell students I used to tell students like after like an hour 15, the learning curve, like you stop learning. So we went way.
It was fun. I will say for a Friday, it was fun. What frustrated me, so I'm on the G2. It's on its last leg. For those that know what this is, the Reverb G2. And so for whatever reason, I'm still having audio issues. I got my mic to record, but then Gonky's audio and the Jet audio wouldn't record. So you'll have to bear with us because it's using Gonky's audio, which I think they were recording something other than your headset. So of course we always have audio issues, and it's never perfect, but I think you get the gist of what happened, and I think it was a lot of fun. And I think we've anchored on this topic too long because it's been 15 minutes. So let's move on. It is something fun to talk about because I think we did do that. So for my subscribers, and I actually go into the comments, I want to address this. So Kate says, I'm a little disappointed we had to pay to and become members. It's affordable right now, but I just am personally off-put by having to pay to be welcome. You're always welcome. There's always free content on this channel, and you can watch for free on Gonky's channel as right now. You never could participate for free on Gonky's channel or my channel because we don't have time to address every single one. That's why we had the super chats. I've explained ad nauseum why we did what we did, and I think it's working out really well. Although last week I discovered if I wear a hat that's backwards, I get 1 million views. So we may have to start that.
You gotta start wearing a hat?
Yeah.
Where's your hat?
I have to start wearing a damn hat. So there's that part. But then also you are getting something different, and I'm not going to sell this, but especially like this DCS thing, right? I just finished editing 2 different videos for this week. One, members that are in the mid category, the flight lead and above, are going to get early access to what we did, the 3 sets. Those that are doing the mission commander, the highest level, which is still only $9.99. It's still lower compared to other channels. You're getting the Discord access plus the entire video. So like, for example, the P-51 versus Hornet was 27 minutes. Well, I'm not going to put that on YouTube, but you get all the banter in between. You get the TAC view. Doug, you watched it, right? It's substantially different.
Yeah, I'm still impressed at how far Gonky can turn his head too.
He got his head stuck too.
I did.
So anyway, yeah. I want to address that because it's not something that I wanted to do, but
the long and short of it is we had to find a way for Movers Channel to stop being penalized by the live streams, where mine wasn't being penalized. So,
and the evidence is December. I mean, if you look at, I went from 700,000 views in a month to 1.8 million. And that's all we changed. I mean, it was seriously penalizing.
It's the algorithms. I mean, we wouldn't have done that if, he wouldn't have had to do that if he wasn't getting penalized.
And now with the subscribers, I can do Mover Mailbag, which is where the Q&A stuff. We figured out we can't have Q&A with all the 110 members or whatever, because then we'd get bogged down. But Q&A, or as we see stuff like this, we can mark it or whatever. So anyway, and then now that there's still, the chats. How do I get a Luna challenge going? I don't know. That was provided. We did that as part of the whole thing with the National Police Association. They only made 100 of them, and so that's a good question. I don't know. They're not for sale.
You have to know Mover for 20 years
and be a part of Luna's upbringing because Doug was there. Ever see the DCS Bert? No, I don't watch. I don't watch DCS. The only thing I did watch, Su-30 video. I saw a Kiowa video and a Su-30 video today, and I was like, dude, we should do that Su-30 thing. Because that's one of the things, Gonky, I'm interested in your opinion when we get to that part, is how did it look in DCS versus
compared to real life?
Now, granted, you probably did not fight somebody who departed the jet and pancaked into the ground. But
well, I mean, it's like the guys, the guys that flew it, they said the more experienced pilots used the thrust vectoring a lot because it could get you. And I took that as kind of like teaching the guys how to fight in the Hornet. They full throttle and pull the stick all the way back, they alpha themselves out of the fight. And that's what I was thinking. I was like, oh, that's what happens. But then, I probably more accurately demonstrated what would happen if you.
Yeah, well, what we did, granted, and Doug pointed this out to me too. It's the FC3 or whatever, Flaming Clips 3. It's not a high fidelity flight model.
I got you.
And it's not thrust vectoring. So the MiG-29 and the Su-27 are not professional flight models like the other ones are. So they don't really know. But from what I understand, the Su-30 they did, and that's a free mod that's coming out. So
it'll be cool. Yeah, I can't wait.
And then by the time we do it again, probably the F4 will be out.
That'd be awesome. I can't wait.
Dude, Colonel Toon. What is the percentage of pilots that apply for and qualify for disability due to flying? I bet it's substantial.
I bet it's everybody.
Neck and back plus
ears.
Cancer and fighter there's studies on that because of the radar energy and stuff. Those are both high numbers. And then Wretched Rob says Gonky's VCR blinks 12. The fact that Gonky still has a VCR is probably
dude, that is funny.
All right, moving on to the show. Breaking news: the Super Hornets shoot down everything.
Yeah,
all the things, Douglas.
Let's see. U.S. assets to include the USS Laboon and FA-18. Hey, just as an aside, whenever I see the name of a Navy vessel, I always go and read about the person it's named after, and it's worth doing in this case. It's always worth doing.
Well, what did Laboon do?
Yeah, what did he do?
He dove off a submarine into a minefield to save downed pilots. Got a Silver Star.
Wow.
So there you go. I'm glad that I read that. If you guys were going to ask me, it was just a suggestion.
Is that World War II?
Yeah.
Wow. The greatest generation. Continue.
Back to the story. And FA-18 Super Hornets from the Eisenhower Carrier Strike Group shot down 12 one-way attack drones, 3 anti-ship ballistic missiles, and 2 land. This sounds like a Christmas song. And 2 land attack cruise missiles in the southern Red Sea that were fired by the Houthis over a 10-hour period, which began at approximately 6:30 a.m. Sana time on December 26th. There was no damage to ships in the area or reported injuries.
Wow.
Okay. So far, the kill total is Raptors, balloons, Super Hornets, a bunch of other stuff, plus drones, plus missiles, plus all this stuff.
That's crazy. I wonder what kind of anti-ship missiles. I mean, it just says
the Exocet, of course. MiG-28, that Houthi F5 launching the Exocet anti-ship missile. Like, they're legit, dude. I just made fun of their video. Yeah. You can't let them get it close to the carrier.
Well, yeah, that's pretty amazing. Wow. Yeah.
Well,
cool. I'm glad they were successful. I mean, that's a lot, man. I mean, in a 10-hour period, 12 projectiles.
Dude, absolutely. And it just goes to, that's the next one. Here, Douglas, let's remove that. It just goes to show you how great the Super Hornet radar, to be picking those things up. I mean, that's pretty high fidelity stuff.
Yeah.
But can you imagine, I would, because this happened when I was at Balad in 2009, I was sitting there, sovereignty alert, and we would get, they would say, hey, we might scramble you. And it was for a drone or something. And dude, I didn't think any less of it. I'm like, I'm going to get to kill something in the air.
Right.
Didn't get to. Somebody else got to it. I was just as disappointed. But, in today's world where it's not the hordes of, German fighters or, Japanese Zeros, you take what you can get. And if you can shoot down a drone, it counts.
Yeah. But the scary thing is, I mean, 12 projectiles coming at you. I mean, right. How did we beat the Raptor and the T-38? We just threw a lot of T-38s at them, right?
Is that number all inclusive, just the Super Hornet, or is that including all the fleet defense? Like, I don't think a Hornet did 12.
No. It's part of a DCA, right, plan. So, but what I'm saying is, how do you get past that? Those layers of defense. Well, I mean, eventually, right? A leaker or somebody gets by. I mean, when you're up against an overwhelming opponent like we were, T-38s versus Raptors, the best way to win is just like
attrition,
right?
Yeah,
and overwhelm them, right? So play the numbers.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Hopefully, though, I mean, hopefully our guys and gals out there are, on it every time. So
That's why you need lasers, dude.
sharks with
Pew,
lasers.
pew. Sharks.
Yeah.
Sharks with freaking laser beams.
Yeah, that's pretty wild, man. Hopefully, like I said, man, I'm looking for de-escalating news instead of escalating news because
2024 is right around the corner. I don't think we're going to hear that, but I like where your head's at.
You mean things aren't going to cool off? Come on.
No, not in 2024. It's election year, Gonky.
Oh, is that it?
Yeah, that's how those things work. And then moving on to the exact same target or thing, Douglas, you got the IDF, Israeli Defense Force, or IA. Are they not IAF?
No.
Israeli Defense Force, Israeli Air Force. Anyway, shoots down a hostile aerial target.
An Israeli Air Force fighter jet shot down a hostile aerial target believed to be a drone launched from Yemen over the Red Sea earlier today, the military says. I guess it's the IAF as a branch of the IDF. In a short statement, the IDF says the target was heading toward Israel, and the IAF's air traffic control monitored the device throughout the incident. The Iran-backed Houthis in Yemen claim to have fired several drones at Israel's southernmost city of Eilat today. The IDF releases photos showing the interception. Shall we watch?
Yeah, why not?
Is this a new one?
I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Oh, this is better than the other one.
Can you make it full screen, Doug?
Can you guys hear that?
Yeah, oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Be careful, Gonky. This is where we end up on Fox News.
Don't say anything.
Missile went from being there to not being there very quickly.
Looks
Once
good.
again-
Next.
I will once again echo my previous comments. Dude, it looks cool.
That's right. It does look cool.
But
Yeah, dude, it just dawned on me. All right, so clearly, we're fighting an opponent that doesn't have money, time, or the resources.
well, they have money and resources from another country.
Well, what I'm getting at is to, fight fire with fire, right? So they can't stand up their own manned air force, so they're using drones. So what happens when they start putting like jammers or they start building stealth drones, right? So,
dude, you just made Fox News for sure. They're going to be like former F-18 hypothesizes about
this is no
what
intel.
happens.
This
How
is just
are they going to next step in the war? The Houthis get jammer tech from the Russians. Go ahead.
But you know what I'm saying? So I mean, clearly, the air defense radar picked up, the drones coming, and they're like, "Hey, send out, the whatever airplane that was, probably F-35," and they found them probably on radar, and put the FLIR pod on them. But what happens like when you
it's not a pod. We've been last time I got corrected on this too. We say it generically like a box of Kleenex, but it's an EO/IR tracker bulbous thing.
It's thingy. Okay,
yeah, the BO thingy. That's
the Battle Penguin puts its thingy on the drone.
Puts its sensors. The sensors are on the drone.
That's right. But
as it's looking through his own feet.
But what happens, like, even if it buys the drone another 20, 30 miles, can they have time to stop it though? All right. So that's the only question I'm asking. Looking at this as an opponent that doesn't have the big air force to fight, it's like, well, let's do this with these drones and we can pump a ton of tech into these drones.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know,
and
man.
that's, well, here's what I see at the escalation is it's going to make it a regional conflict very quickly. Because the first time that thing breaks through and they're unable to shoot it down and it hits somewhere, Tel Aviv.
Or blows a hole in a carrier.
Yeah. Yemen gets flattened.
Yeah.
Full stop. Doesn't matter if it's Houthi or whatever, those targets get destroyed. And now we're not talking, because right now we're in this very restrained, the Houthis are making all these propaganda videos and saying how, death to America. We can't wait for you guys to come knock on our door. And we're not really doing anything because we don't want the wider conflict, because we prefer, as Gonky has said, some de-escalation. We don't want to, because, the first thing that happens is Lebanon, Yemen, Iran, Iran.
Oh, yeah.
Dude, it's a regional conflict. Now, a lot of things are happening. We just don't want to see this if we can avoid it.
100%. I agree.
But that's not to say that they will be successful. I mean, we could keep doing this,
So, dude, I really do. But
I think my concern is just what happens when, that golden BB, like Gonky shooting at me in DCS. What happens when that golden BB hits? And he's very lucky.
BBs, plural.
Using no skill whatsoever. He happens to shoot down an Israeli something, and Israeli goes knock knock.
Yeah.
And now we're all in war, and Gonky gets dragged to the front line wearing his army helmet and army pants. Did you buy some army pants for your new job? You're supposed to be wearing army pants, dude. I forgot to tell you that.
No, I'm going to show up in a flight suit.
Sea snakes.
Flight suit and a smile, man.
Sea snakes.
Sea snakes. That's
right. All right. Douglas, well, hold on for the second. I'm going to get to these chats real quick. Joel.
Wow. Thank you.
Thank you, Joel. Appreciate that. Janitor is back. Fokker DR1 DCS kill is the only true kill.
Yeah. Dude, do they have the Fokker?
I don't think they have anything pre
World War I.
Yeah. I was surprised at remember we were talking about the BF 109 with the leading edge?
I had no idea.
Leading
edge. Yeah.
Dude, that was crazy.
Yeah.
To me, it was crazy how much easier it was to fly the 109
than the P-51.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We should have tried the P-47.
Yeah, we should have.
Joel,
thank you.
Thank you, Joel.
Wow.
$5 for Jeff Gordon, PJs for Luna.
Yes, matching Mover and Luna with
Mover and Luna matching PJs. Big Cheese says, how about a holiday special song by the duo Beezies called "How Deep Is Your Intel"? Merry Christmas! Looking forward to the DCS
that is
stuff.
Funny, God.
Dude. I'm telling
Rich
you
probably
what.
hates us. Dude. He's like freaking.
He hated us before. He hated us before. Don't act like that was.
Is that because we went to pilot training? Is that why?
Radiators.
We got.
T-Bear started, and this is probably where my bias against the self-loading baggage came from. When I was a young lieutenant, okay, T-Bear used to talk shit. Ooh, can we say that word? You've been cussing a lot lately. I think.
I haven't.
Well, yeah. Anyway, so when I was a young lieutenant, he was telling stories. He talked about going to the O Club as a fighter pilot at Randolph back when O Clubs were a thing. And he went in and it was a bunch of navs and whatever they called them back then, F4 Wizzos or whatever. And he goes to the bar and he stands up and he goes, "If you ain't got radiators, you ain't got shit." And it started like a brawl. And he snuck out the back as they're brawling behind him.
I love it.
And as an impressionable young lieutenant, that has stuck with me. And I have henceforth been like, "Oh, no radiators, huh?"
Yeah.
Whatever. That's where I got I'd rather have the extra gas too.
Yeah. Well, in the Hornet rag, when it was just the Hornet rag, not Super Hornet, it was bred into us.
Well, you were where I got. I mean, Battlefield 3. I mean, made this channel famous. But Arm the Seat Wizzo, You're the Last Flare. Actually,
that's what I was taught.
Is from Gonky. So I can't take credit for that. More. Yeah. Dude, the funniest part, I don't know if you ever picked this up, dude. You're talking to Jester. I cannot wait for people to hear you talking to Jester. In the Tomcat.
Oh, no. Now, wait, there's a reason why I was talking to him like that. Because
Go on.
Say my ass, dude. The reason why is because I had no idea how to read the number, like any of the instruments in that thing. And if I asked the fake Rio or whatever it was, my altitude or airspeed, he would tell me. I was like, this is amazing. It's like better than a helmet. It's like, how fast am I going?
Oh, dude, I just can't wait. I can't wait. Doug, you saw it, Doug. You commented when you saw that.
Yeah, it's
what'd you call it?
Classic example of superstitious behavior. It worked once, and it was, and there we went.
Man, you got look, in a high stress situation, you go back to what you were first taught. And that's That's the
Oh,
true.
dude, that's
The
hilarious.
true C model Hornet guy coming out of me.
Oh my God. Yeah. Eject me, Jester.
That's right.
What's funny is when I got in the Tomcat, there was no Jester. He never said a word.
You didn't ask him a question. You seem to have it all figured out up there. So,
I heard that he heard that you were fighting Gonky and just didn't step
out
that day.
Yeah, he got out. He just like, no, I'm not
he
doing
ejected
this.
on takeoff. It's
Yeah.
all you.
JP says, Merry Christmas, love the show. Please keep the episodes coming. Hope the year starts off great for you guys.
Thanks, JP.
Gonky, are you doing do you have time? Are you doing a year in review?
Yeah. I am. I don't know when yet. But yeah. Because I also like, in addition to doing it, I'll do it on like a Ready Room Live. I think it's good to quantify things, at the end of the year. Take a look. So yeah.
I'm going to do one more of a documentary style because I got a lot to unpack. Hopefully people don't think it's whining, because sometimes you get people that are like, well, are you talking about bad things? It's whining. Because you have to be real. You have to be real. You can't just be like everything is good all the time. To me, if people see that, we're all struggling, there's that genuineness to it.
Transparency.
Yeah.
That's right.
Because this year sucked until the end. It got better. It trended better in December, but
24 is going to be better. You just told me 24 is going to be awesome.
We're in trouble, Gonky. We're in trouble.
Next.
Okay, Douglas. We have a great and now this article is nonsense. Just so we know, it's written by AI, but a dude put his name on it.
Did they not see the thumbnail?
Oh, I'm sorry, Doug. Buckle up, Maverick. Lockheed's F-35 now comes with a wingman seat. Roman put his name on it, but it's artificial intelligence. Look at this, dude.
Wow.
It says
says
something
buck
sort
up.
of like,
buck up, Maverick. It's sponsored by. I can read
enhanced.
it, Doug. You want me to read it?
This is a short one.
If you
can read
scroll,
the whole
I can
thing.
read.
Okay,
Break
go.
out the aviator sunglasses. Lockheed Martin just flipped the script on aerial dominance in a stunning move that's got Top Guns around the world buzzing. That's us, Gonky. We're buzzing. Actually, we're not. We're not Top Guns. The aerospace mogul has dared to double up. We introduced to you the F-35 Lightning II, now with a bonus seat to share the thrill. Are you ready for the tandem terror of the skies? Hey, that's us. We are the tandem terror. We've flown together.
We were not allowed to fly together.
Well, we did in the T-38. Training wheels no longer required. I love this. Once upon a time, in the realm of cutting-edge combat aircraft, a rookie pilot's transition to ace was a solitary voyage. But with the new dual cockpit F-35 is changing the game. It's like bringing a co-pilot with an extra set of eyes and a backup brain. Perfect for turning greenhorn pilots into seasoned vets at warp speed. After all, two heads, who said head? Especially under helmets are better than one. Operation Backseat Driver, deep intel. Launching a two-seat variant isn't just about companionship at 30,000 feet. It's about strategic disruption. Picture this. An instructor pilot duo pirouetting through the ether, orchestrating high-octane maneuvers that single-seaters only dream of. Add to that the potential of a second-seat electronic warfare prodigies unleashing cyber havoc, and the battle sky writes a new narrative. The nuts and bolts makeover. Gone are the days when a second seat meant a sluggish jet lagging behind its sleeker single cousins. Lockheed Martin's wizards have rejigged the legendary F-35 frame. Is it legendary, dude? It's kind of, she's a husky gal.
Oh, it's legendary, but
yeah, promising the cloak of invisibility. I'm invisible. You can't see it. And the lightning bolt of agility remained uncompromised. The tech specifics are as stealthy as the jet itself, but who doesn't love a good air of mystery? The new sales pitch. Global defense markets, get ready for a shakeup. The two-seat F-35 is like the head-turning roadster of the skies, flaunting versatility and style that could have potential buyers rejigging their military shopping list. And for Lockheed's rivals, well, back to the drawing board. At least they're left in the stratospheric dust. Here are the questions, though. Wondering if it's the answer to your Air Force's prayers. Gonky, do you have an Air Force?
An Air Force prayer? No, I don't.
Okay. It's the fighter pilot prayer. God, I don't care if I die. Just please don't let me F up. A cockpit of two means unparalleled pilot training. Intimate. It's frowned upon to get intimate in strategy sessions. There's been scandals and potential new mission paradigms. Lockheed promised the double dose of pilot doesn't dilute the F-35's genetic code. We'll get there, Douglas. Stop reading so fast. Crowing, a tandem F-35 could catapult Lockheed to the top of every military wish list. While nations are tight-lipped, you can bet there's a queue forming for the airborne marvel. As for when you can witness the dynamic duo tearing up the skies, patience, Ace. Greatness takes time. And the sequel to the F-35 saga is worth the wait. Think you've got a hangar big enough for this beast? The two-seat F-35 is more than just a fighter. It's an airborne revolution, a spare seat, because sometimes flying solo is just plain old lonely. Strap in and get ready to hit Mach speeds with your flying buddy. This isn't just a new chapter. It's a whole new attitude. So there's a lot to unpack here. First of all, we know it's AI. So has there actually been any news whatsoever of a two-seat F-35? Why would they do that? Why would they make this up? For clicks?
I don't know. There's no...
Yeah. Second, if I were a Wizzo, Rio, Sizzo, whatever they're called now, I'd be mad at this article because they get a two-seater and they don't even get... It's a pilot. They're putting another pilot in there. They don't even give a Wizzo or Ewo or somebody to do all the nerd stuff back there. It's just me and you, Gonky. It's two pilots.
Yeah, which I mean, yeah, I don't. I read this and I'm like, I don't get it. I mean, there was a lot of it that I was like, this is just wrong.
Yeah, yeah. I love it though. I love the fact that people are bold enough to put their AI articles out for the world to see, and then put their own name on it as if they wrote it. Because if you scroll down, you'll actually see the guy. And it's a real person.
Saw that.
Roman Pulowski, which I think he played football.
And I'm like, who is
Perkowski, sorry. He's a distinguished name in the field of space exploration technology, propulsion systems.
Not
dude, that's fake. That's not a real person. That's an AI person.
It's an AI photograph.
Yeah, that's a AI man.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. You know, I would find it shocking that anybody would read that and be like, oh, that's not real.
He's got a sunburned nose or drinking problem.
Punched in the face, man. He looks like he's been in a bar fight.
Some Wizzo got mad at him for putting a two-seat Fat Amy and removing the Wizzo and putting another pilot in there. This is what happens.
Yeah. No, being awesome when you're by yourself is not lonely. So,
yeah, I don't think I've ever been in a jet and like, hey, I wish I had another mind in this cockpit with me, because you've got 3 other assholes with you out there anyway. You're like, there's already like 2 awks.
Yeah, I don't know. You know, the single seat, 2-seat thing will probably be around for a long time. But I just remember when I first hit the fleet, you know, I was a single seat guy and I was treated as such. My friends who were in 2-seat squadrons, I remember them telling me, oh, it's just kind of like being in the rag, man. Like they're talking to me about my join up. And I'm like, oh, dude, I would.
Look what it does to people.
Yeah.
Fly the Strike Eagle long enough and look at what turns into those people.
Yeah. They're damaged.
Yeah. Sorry. They become Blue Falcons, if you will.
Well, yeah.
They'll turn you into their Strike Eagle buddies.
They're not all bad, but it's definitely a different culture, and I'm glad I wasn't in that.
So like at the EX, right? The EX is coming out and it's going to these guard squadrons. We're going to talk about the EX in a second. They're flying them single seat. They're like, what's the back seat for? I don't know. Tie it up. See you later.
Well, yeah. So, I mean, that was very common in the Navy. I mean, I flew tons of D's and F's with nobody in the back. And, you know, I think, though, the big difference between the Navy and the Air Force is, correct me if I'm wrong, but every Air Force 2-seat jet has full controls in the back, right? Throttles and stick.
Yes.
So that's different than the Navy. In the Navy, like it is missionized for a Wizzo.
That's what we were talking about with Top Gun Maverick. When Maverick sat in the back of a Super Hornet, there were no controls back there.
Right.
So he was doing this to nothing.
Unless, I mean, we called them T-birds. There's a kit you can. And of course, the early stages of training, we had a couple of F models with the controls in the back. Couldn't shut down the engines. I think that was the only weird thing. But
you don't want Thomas doing that.
No. No. I mean, yeah, he's a pilot. He's probably a way better P-51 pilot than me. But now that I've got some experience in DCS, But yeah,
you actually ground loop the Hornet more than you ground loop the P-51 in DCS.
So have respect for the P-51s.
All right, moving on to something near and dear to my heart.
When will we learn the findings of the Navy's beard study? Where is the Navy's beard study? I like this caption too. Did that face foliage affect this shipmate's mask seal? Apparently, the Navy
His beard it repelled everything. It repelled all of the
Where is the Navy's beard study? When, if ever, will it be made public, and will its findings lead to a sea change in allowed sailor stubble? These questions aren't new. From online forums to all hands calls, many active duty sailors have said they'd like to grow a beard, even as some who sport them for medical reasons say they are sometimes ostracized for their facial hair. Big Navy has said no to beards for all, citing concerns that sailors can't get a snug oxygen mask seal with facial hair should they have to fight a shipboard fire. Still, Navy Secretary Carlos del Toro directed that the service conduct a fresh assessment of the issue in 2022 as part of the department's diversity, equity, and inclusion efforts. Officials say they expect the study to wrap up in 2023. With 2023 largely now in the rearview mirror, whether the fleet will get the study's results or substantial facial hair policy changes in 2024 remains to be seen. Del Toro's office did not respond to multiple emails seeking the status of the beard study. Navy officials have previously cited two Navy safety. Wow, say that one 5 times fast. Naval Safety Center reviews that found even a few days stubble might impact a mask's seal, but the service's safety records show just one incident over the past few decades in which a beard prevented a proper seal. That instance involved a civilian shipyard worker. A 2021 military medicine article also referenced assessments showing that half-face respirators were 98% effective with a 1/8 inch beard and 100% effective with a 1/16 inch beard. The Navy's current beard waiver policy limits the hair to 1/4 inch in length.
It's nonsense. Every time they come up with this, well, what about the mask? Look at all of these countries that allow fighter pilots to have beards with masks on. ATAC, Draken, like remember we were at Key West and the dudes were like with the Boeing, airlines across, like there's a lot of, especially in the airline industry, there's a whole lot of ancestor worship with the airline industry. Like we got to have the dorky bus driver uniform because that's what they wore back in the 30s. We got to be clean shaven because back in the 30s that was a sign of status or whatever. Meanwhile, there's no standards for like you're morbidly obese and your gut hits the yoke when I flare, or you're wearing, New Balance black tennis shoes instead of dress shoes, or you're wearing a clip-on tie with short sleeves. We have these weird cultural appearance things. And now we're on an airline thing, but it comes back to all of these. Like there's this aversion to beards because, well, that's the way we've always done it. But in this case, the Navy, I found out after I did the Mover-Ruins movies with Wombat, the Navy used to allow beards. They used to be awesome.
They still do on occasion. I mean, if you can
right, the shaving chit.
Right.
Like you can get that in the Air Force. Like there are dudes in the Air Force that have like, I think some kind of skin condition. I can't
Special
shave.
Forces guys too, man. They don't like some of those guys don't.
That's true.
What I want to know is how many millions of dollars they spent on that study.
We don't go into the weeds on that one because I'm just saying I'm all for it.
100%. I think you should be able to have a beard. Why not?
Airlines, military. There's nothing more depressing than the day of I got to go back to drill and I got to shit because it's my freedom.
Yeah.
I probably wouldn't want a beard if I couldn't have one. If I could have one.
Yeah. I mean, there's a couple times. I mean, I don't really grow facial very much, but I've flown tactical airplanes with it. Yeah, exactly.
Our friends up to the north. How could we be allies if we can't look like our allies?
They fly our planes good enough.
Yeah, you can fly a Hornet, but we can't have a beard together.
That's right. Yeah. Plus, dude, a beard makes you look so salty, right? I mean,
I mean, grizzled.
That's right.
Yeah. I mean,
season.
Yeah. Whatever. I thought that was an article.
I hope they bring it back, man. But yeah.
Well, you know what they'll do? They'll bring it back, and it won't be for pilots or officers. It'll be for like everybody else.
Yeah. If you work in admin, you can grow a beard.
Yeah,
because you're never
good
going to
one.
wear a mask.
Well, even the airline mask. I mean, come on, man. It seals and it's high pressure.
We can have beards where I'm at.
Oh, but you can't have CPDLC.
I don't know.
So
what
that's
that
the
is.
trade-off.
Oh, is that clearance
It's the thing
delivery
you
thing?
didn't. Yeah, the clearance delivery thing. You have to
Yes.
call in manual clearances like a man.
But you can, but you can have a. It's so funny that there's a bunch of some of the cabs have, and they bring these beard like maintaining kits with them, and they're just constantly like I'm just like, dude, is it bothering you? No, it's nice. I'm like, okay.
It's like the guys that clip their toenails in the cockpit.
Oh no, none of that.
That's a thing, dude.
Not on 2-hour flights, bro.
Yeah, well, transcons. Good luck. Moving on. JP says,
says,
Merry Christmas. Love the show. Please keep the episodes coming. Hope the year starts off great for you guys. Thanks, JP.
Thank you.
Joel says, I had to split the money between 2 super chats to make it 69 giggity. It's a good cause to donate to, and the holidays are about giving and receiving giggity.
Thanks, Joel.
That was
That's
his
awesome.
giggity combined with my giggity.
Mm-hmm.
Giggity squared. Wretched Rob says, I know everyone's YouTube. Thanks for the support on the Twitch. Is there a mailing address for Douglas at where as well? Probably just send them to me.
Care of Mover.
Yeah, PO Box 8594. Oh God, I have to go to the post. I hate the post office. To Wolf Jaeger. Don't worry, bruh. When you said pod or laser to an F-35 guy, I know what you're talking about. EOTS does really cool stuff, though. Not gonna lie, EOTS. That's what it's called. Yep. Ray says dingus. The term for the F-35's EO suite is dingus.
Wow, I didn't know.
I feel like that's made up. I don't believe you. I wish I had someone in my back seat said no one. That's what she said.
Look, I'm a hardcore single seat guy, but I tell you what, on an air nav, it's pretty nice.
Fat Amy becomes bloated Amy. I think it just becomes morbidly obese Amy.
Yeah.
Like you can't make that thing fatter.
Or it's really fat Amy. I don't know.
Super fat.
Can we say that?
Calorically challenged, right? Isn't that the new thing?
Plus size fat.
Normal. What is wrong with New Balance shoes? Nothing. As long as you're in your jorts and your white socks. But if you're in uniform, it
like
looks
tie, shirt and tie.
Like if you're wearing an airline uniform. Now, granted, should we just be wearing khakis and a polo shirt? Yes. Or as I like to say, a flight suit. But if you're gonna say we got to wear the bus driver uniform, don't show up with some tennis shoes. I don't care what your orthopedic problems are. Unpopular opinion. Oh, we already did that one. Okay, moving on to the next one. Moving on. We are talking about the this is your article. As soon as you finish with your COVID.
Sorry. Dude, we don't have that anymore.
Whatever you can't.
Doug, did you read it? Can you read it?
I can go ahead and read it.
Yeah, just summarize it, man. It's short.
Navy's last Super Hornet contract stalled due to rising airframe costs. Negotiations over the Navy's last batch of Super Hornets have stalled due to growing price tag of fourth-generation aircraft. USNI News has learned the contract for the Navy to buy the final 20 FA-18EF Super Hornets from Boeing is at a standstill. The Navy continues to work with Boeing on the contract for the 20 congressionally added Super Hornet aircraft. Ongoing contract negotiations cannot be discussed at this time. The program manager for the FA-18 and the EA-18G told USNI News in a statement. In prior fiscal years, Congress appropriated and authorized about $1.15 billion, which with the Navy's estimate of $55.7 million per aircraft means the service could buy 20 Super Hornets. We are committed to ensuring warfighter readiness and supporting our U.S. Navy customer. We continue to work with the U.S. Navy on a path forward, a Boeing spokesman told USNI News in an email. But Boeing's estimate for Super Hornets has become more expensive. Let's see. Approaching the cost of an F-35C for latest Lot 15 through 17 contract. The cost of an F-35C is about $102.1 million. The contract was for 20 aircraft. It's not going to be 20 aircraft because we've taken so long to get the final determination on that contract. The number of dollars will not go as far, but those aircraft need to be built. And that pretty much covers it. Inflationary pressure.
Yeah, I mean, I read through this, and it's kind of shocking because the price has basically doubled on the last 20 Super Hornets that they're supposed to give to the Navy, which I get it, inflation's real, but a lot of this stuff is contractually doped out like years in advance. So I did a little research on this as far as like what might be causing it. But basically both like Boeing and the Navy kind of gave their generic answer of, oh, we're working together to ensure that the warfighter has the best flying machine, blah blah. And there was some pretty good, I thought they were pretty good possible reasons, which is the Navy is not super excited about that Amy, the F-35, and they're really trying to get the next gen Navy fighter going, and so maybe that's where the focus has shifted to.
Scroll down, dude.
But as far as getting the last 20 Super Hornets, I mean, these are going to be like the latest and greatest, and I think it's very strange that I don't know, how does the price of an airplane double? Like the last 20, you've been making them for like 30 years, and everything's contractually doped out. I don't.
Well, did you save 16 cents on a hot dog if last 4th of July, or did you pay double?
Well, a lot of my expenses have doubled, yes, but like I said, a lot of that is, I don't have a contract doped out with my insurance company. They just double my insurance, right, every year.
They're contingent contracts, though, right? Because they're contracts, they're plus expenses, so they probably built that in because they're not going to lose money. They're not, these companies are not going to lose money selling to the government. If anything, they're going to double it and then double it again. But my question to you, Gonky, would you rather the Super Hornet or the F-35? Like if they're the same price?
I don't know. I'm biased. I'll take the Super Hornets, but for carrier ops, I mean, we have F-35s, but I don't. That's my biased answer. I mean, I don't know, but even with the price increase, they still are cheaper than F-35.
So if you had to have the F Super Hornet or the C F-35, now what?
Oh, the 2-seat. Oh, dude, I'll take the C model any day. Yeah, give me the lesser priorities.
Yeah,
no, that's priority. You bring up a good question. I mean, that's valid. Probably the right answer is you go buy the newer airplane, the F-35. But again, they talked about that briefly in that article, and they're like, we just can't do that because there's contract stuff, right? So,
contracts.
Yeah.
So my next question to you, Gonky, was this what variant of Super Hornets? Are they the Block 3s or
should be Block 3? Yeah.
So they are getting the latest and greatest. Now that does change things, right? Because those things are
very
awesome.
Good. Yeah. Very good.
Would be nice to fly one day. I don't know.
Damn it. Come on, man. You can't.
Too soon?
Like reopening a wound, man. It's like saying her name again. She's gone.
Well, that was the thing Friday. He kept saying how being on the Hornet made you sad.
I know. I told my wife that too, and she kind of felt bad. But I was like, "Nah."
And that's why she crushed. She's like, "I can't believe you."
She's like,
that's why she was mad all weekend, dude. There you go.
I felt better, man. I ran it by Butch, and he's like, "You made the right choice, man." I was like, "All right, feel better about that."
Yeah. Well, the channel said you did the right thing.
Yeah, I know.
Because the show was canceled.
It's not all about me, but sorry.
I mean, Gonky check 1.
Yeah. I'm still here.
Lucky check me. All right. Anything else to add on your article about the Navy?
No, I think it's crazy. The last 20 and they're at a standstill. I mean, especially given the nature of what's going on around the globe.
So what happens, right? Because the Kuwaitis have already bought theirs.
They're already built. Yeah.
Right. The Navy, it's stalled.
Right.
India said no.
Yep. And that's it.
Then, I mean, Boeing's just out of the business. They're just making the EXs.
Well, yeah. And I saw in the comments, one of the things I thought we could have talked about, but I didn't bring it up with they're out of the E4B, the Doomsday contracts thing as well. So, I mean, I don't know what's going on.
Seems like there's some reorganization happening over there.
That's what I'm saying. There's something funky going on because it's not like they can just go to like, with a big airplane. They can't go to anybody else. It's Boeing, right? They're the only big airplane maker in the U.S. So, I mean,
it ain't Boeing. They ain't going.
No. So,
yeah, I don't know. Colin says, adding to my beard comment, here in Canada, our hair eggs have been thrown out the window, and we had members of the Snowbirds with hockey mullets during the season. Hell yeah.
That's awesome.
It is awesome, but also
awesome.
I would like to see the Snowbirds get better aircraft.
Better planes, yeah.
Yeah, it seems...
Canada deserves better.
They deserve better.
100%.
Douglas says, thank you, Douglas. F-15EX has a backseat because for quick development acceptance by the Air Force, the F-15Q built for Qatar was adapted. New single seat would cost more time and money to develop. That makes sense.
That's valid.
However, the squadrons that are getting them are not adding Wizzos. Like, you're not going to have guard Wizzos. So it'll just sit empty. They'll tie them up. It'll be like the T-38, You'll either fly with somebody.
Give, Airman of the Quarter rides in it.
Sensations. NFL cheerleaders, dude. That's the only way this works.
All right.
For legal reasons. Hold on. There's that one. And our opinions don't represent the deal. Well, who's we're kidding? They're not letting me fly that anyway.
No.
Okay.
Are they?
I would love to. I'm available. And I won't fly anybody illegal in the backseat, I promise. Hey, Mover from Louisiana. Love the show. Catch you on DCS sometime. Go Tigers. Oh, man. Tiger fan this year. Saints fan, Tiger fan, man. Although Jaden Daniels won the Heisman. No, I wish the live show.
Thanks, Wicked.
I don't understand those words in that combination, but I like the enthusiasm of giving Gonky $2. All right, moving on. Yep, we were talking about the EX. Douglas, take it away.
That is a big, good-looking airplane.
Yes.
The F-15EX is the real American badass fighter jet. Can we say swear words when they're in the headlines of our articles?
You're just reading, man.
These are
your words.
It's your show, man. Do what you want.
But expensive. The Air Force isn't the only interested customer in the F-15EX, as Israel is now preparing to send a formal request to the U.S. for 25 of the fighters, with plans to acquire as many as 50 of the aircraft. The Boeing F-15EX Eagle II fighter has completed a key test and evaluation phase, which included the successful launch of air-to-air and air-to-ground standoff munitions, the United States Air Force announced back in October. During the tests, a pair of F-15EXs launched joint direct attack munitions, small diameter bombs, and joint air-to-surface standoff missiles. The tests were conducted during Combat Hammer exercise that concluded at the end of August and occurred at Hill Air Force Base, Utah. Air Force officials said the weapons were employed during a wide range of scenarios. This marked the completion of the F-15EX's first phase of integrated test and evaluation efforts. The data collected from the test will be used to determine the full rate production for the fourth generation fighter, Defense News reported. The $93.5 million F-15EX Eagle II. It was also this week that reports came out to put the final price tag on the F-15EX Eagle II at about $93.5 million per aircraft if the Air Force sticks with its current plan to acquire 104 of the fighters. The first SAR for the Eagle II program after it shifted from being middle-tier acquisition effort to a major defense acquisition program. Oh, this is the first SAR. I read that wrong. The acquisition procurement unit's cost of the aircraft has actually dropped from $114.2 million, a decline of 5.24%, after the Air Force announced it would reverse course on the planned cuts to the fleet and instead increase the overall buy by 24 aircraft by the fiscal year 2025, Air and Space Forces magazine first reported. Is 100 aircraft enough? The current question is whether the Air Force is actually looking to buy enough of the Eagle IIs. The aircraft, though lacking stealth and other capabilities of the Lockheed Martin F-35 Lightning II, could still be well suited to serve as airborne controllers for future collaborative combat aircraft and other drones, as a launch platform for advanced weapons, including hypersonic weapons and other large ordnance, and as a new platform for advanced electronic warfare, EW platforms. Given that the aircraft has been touted to be a do-it-all fighter, the question is whether 104 of the aircraft are even enough. Many would, of course, be tasked with the defense of the homeland in a time of major crisis or war. Though the Air Force did reverse course and realized that its plan to acquire only 80 F-15EX Eagle IIs would leave the fleet spread thin for all the jobs it was meant to fill, the service's current goal to have 104 is lower than the originally planned fleet size of at least 144. The keywords "at least" need to be stressed. Critics of the program have also been quick to suggest that the F-15EX is simply a new model of an old warbird. but the supporters are as quick to note its current configuration includes the highly capable AN/APG-82 active electronically scanned array ESA radar and the powerful Eagle passive active warning survivability system. I don't even know how to pronounce that acronym. EPAWS, Electronic Warfare Suite, according to a report from the Drive. This seemed like a much shorter article when I was scanning it.
Yeah. We got the highlights.
I think we got the high points.
Yeah. So I was just looking this up with the article we just talked about. $93.5 million versus $102.1 million. This thing's cheaper than the Super Hornet.
Yeah.
And F-35C, which it doesn't talk about what the F-35A, which would be more comparable, but you got to figure it's in the ballpark. One of the things about this that I wanted, thanks, Doug, we'll take that down. This has been my big complaint with the whole 5th gen thing, and I'm glad they're doing this, is because stealth technology in general, right, is kind of a day one of the war. It's your red flag. It's your, hey, we need to go in. They can't see us. We're going to take down their integrated air defense, do suppression of enemy air defense. We'll do SEED. We'll do DEED. We'll do all the stuff to clean the air picture. And now we're going to do onesie twosies. Now we need a workhorse aircraft. You can't rely on a 30-year-old airframe because you've got wing spar issues. You've got, the spine. You've got these. We've put so many hours in Afghanistan and OIF, OEF that airframe life is not good. So you need to buy something new, but you need to buy something that's upgraded. So I love what they did with going to something that was already a proven design, adding capability and allowing it to do air-to-air and air-to-ground, and doing something that doesn't need the 5th gen. You don't need all the stealth and everything to do stuff that we still have to do, right? The Louisiana Air Guard, for example, does air sovereignty alert or air defense alert in New Orleans. Jacksonville, they're getting the F-35. Units that had the Eagle previously or the F-16 need something to go to continue sitting alert and, not relying on a 30-year-old airframe. It's good to have something new with 0 hours, with new technology. It's still supported by the factory. There's still parts. There's still support from Boeing that you wouldn't otherwise have. So I love the idea of doing this because you need the bulk. You need the workhorse fleet of more than just a few stealth aircraft. But I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree with you. I'm a huge fan of mission specific. Day one, it's like in Desert Storm, right? When they first went to Iraq, guess what? They sent the F-117s in and they did their thing.
Right.
And then when it was time to really level their buildings, they sent in, all the big stuff. So, we poo-poo on the F-35 a lot. And the thing is, like, if you look at pictures of it flying off the carrier, even, in the Air Force, it's got pylons on it, right?
Yeah.
For it to actually, yes, it's stealth. It can be stealthy, but it has a very small payload. An EX, it's like a mini B1, right? But guess what? You hit the jettison button, and all of a sudden it turns into a very maneuverable
12
fighter.
AMRAMs, dude.
Yeah,
that thing can haul.
Yeah,
dude, 8. We used to there's the old Dos Gringos song. Wish I had 8 AMRAMs like the Eagle. I wish I had 12.
Well, yeah, and then guys will be like, well, it doesn't have thrust vectoring. Well, who cares? It's got probably carries like what 4 9Xs, and then he's got a helmet, right? So.
And it doesn't need it because we've seen the demo.
Yeah,
that thing is insane. It's fly by wire.
Yeah,
it's the Eagle is now granted, no self-respecting fighter pilot in an F-16 or an F-18 is going to lose to an Eagle.
No, of course not. Even in EX.
Even in EX. However, if someone else, a lesser fighter pilot's flying against it, they're going to lose because it's a good platform. And it's got a lot of thrust.
Yeah.
And, now granted, all these Eagle guys transitioning, the B word, they're going to be in trouble.
Right.
Having to drop stuff that hits the ground, they're all going to be culturally shocked about the idea of having a real mission, but I digress.
Well, yeah, I mean, I would argue that really the only major advantage, and I don't know, it's just my opinion, that the F-35 has over the EX would be that day one LO capability. But LO it's one of those things. Once they design it and build it, as time goes on, once it becomes obsolete, it's not like they can just put a different coat of paint on. All of a sudden, it's invisible again, right? So who knows what?
Well, but it's got the EPAWS thing. I mean, it's got self-protection capabilities and 12 AMRAAMs.
Well, yeah, the EX. That's what I'm saying. The EX has its own way of defending itself. But what I'm saying is probably the only advantage an F-35 would have over an EX is its
sensors. Yeah.
So, and the areas that the F-35 might have an advantage, I don't think it's enough to overcome the advantages the F-15EX has. But that's coming from a 4th gen guy who has limited 5th gen experience. But you can't get around it. The EX is it's a pretty bad machine.
Well, and it also, because it's still supported by Boeing, right?
Yeah.
It's a new technology. All this stuff, loyal wingman, I mean, imagine a world where you've got an EX with 12 AMRAAMs and you've got loyal wingmen with 4 apiece with autonomous drones, and you've got, maybe they throw that Wizzo in the back and he's controlling your drones for you back there.
Right.
I mean, you've got a lot of advanced capability beyond just what's advertised, but realistically, what you're using this for is, I mean, let's say this Middle East thing kicks off again. After day 120, we need something that's a bomb truck that can protect itself. F-35s are going to be doing seed and doing all that stuff. But at that point, remember the Syrian conflict, dude. The CJs took down the IADs in like a day and a half.
Right.
After that, it was just dropping bombs and I mean, that's what these conflicts, because of our political system and how we fight wars, it starts to become a grinder. After a while, it's not just we killed everything, let's move on to the next thing. It's okay, we're still there. We've got strategic objectives, we've got tactical objectives. We need those bomb trucks that can go in with precision weapons.
Right.
I didn't see though. It said JDAMs, SDBs, and JASMs and stuff like that. Does it have a pod? Can you put a targeting pod on that thing and drop like LGBs and stuff
on the EX?
Yeah,
I'm certain. I'm certain.
I didn't see it. I mean, I'm sure you can. I didn't know because, I mean, we were talking about, you've seen the memes or whatever on Instagram about GPS jamming and spoofing and stuff like that.
Right.
You still want other capabilities as well, and you want that for when you run out of tail kits too. When you don't have enough JDAMs to go around, and you're like, okay, well, we've got LGBs or even Mark 82 slicks.
Right.
So I'm sure they'll have that capability as well. But I think it's a great thing. I wish it was a little bit cheaper so you could buy more. But in today's economy, it's cheaper than the other stuff.
Well, I mean, okay, so the EX is awesome of an airplane. It's cheaper than the 5th gen stuff, right? But I just keep, like, the more these kind of articles I read, I mean, everything I did, in the combat that I partook in, I could have done it in A4. So the big expensive fighters are awesome, but like there's a place, man, for a workhorse, like you mentioned.
Yeah, and also somebody in the comments talked about near peer. I'm go back to what you said earlier. I think there's a need for near peer because what's one of the things you talked about earlier on an earlier segment about the drones, right? The war of attrition. When they're sending, because at some point you're not, when we say near peer, we're not talking about it's going to be a J-20 versus an F-22. It's going to be, they're whatever's left. They're MiG-17s that are coming across, and they've just got 1,000 of them. Well, what do you need against 1,000 MiG-17s? You don't need
1,000 AMRAAM.
You need 1,000 AMRAAMs, right? And what can carry? You're going to run out of the ability to make AMRAAMs before this becomes a thing, but you need missile trucks, and that's why I've talked about this on previous shows, the old concept of the B-1R where you had, your fighter up front and the B1 in the back, and he was just you had 24 AMRAAMs, and he was just pew pew pew, launching AMRAAMs for you. That is what it boils down to after the initial phases of the shock and awe.
Yeah.
At some point, unless we just lost, you don't get past day one. Okay, well, guess what? We never needed this, but realistically, you have to be able to take care of, the later days of the war where you've got a bunch of aircraft. Plus, any Eagle guy will tell you, they're still relevant in OCA, offensive counter air. They're still relevant in, DCA, defensive counter air, because that is not necessarily your bread and butter 5th gen mission. I mean, they do it really well and they do it a lot, but as you've seen, as a T-38 guy, sometimes it just comes down to, can we get the picture clean with the missiles that we have?
Yeah.
And if you've got a good radar like this thing does, you can handle that.
Yeah. Yeah. I think the word stealth is good marketing.
Yeah. Because it's invisible. Yeah. All right. Moving on to some things from the kids at home. T. Jones says, any plans to make more DCS videos with Ray? I guess that's for me. I just talked to Raymond. He's been having some family stuff, unfortunately, but I think he talked about maybe later this week, maybe. So I finally, the Pimax, you had the Pimax, right? The Pimax Crystal? PI, that's the headset you wore? That's what you told me. That's what you told me. When I asked you, that's what you said.
Yes,
it
was very nice.
That's coming in tomorrow.
Okay.
You would think that the issues of stealth coating and thermal damage on the F-35C, the F-18 and F-15 would continue until NGAD finishes. Thank you both. I don't know anything about those things.
Yeah, we're not in charge.
Yeah,
definitely not in charge. Thank you, though, man. Thanks.
Outside of my pay grade, I don't know.
Well, outside.
I don't have any intel on that one. No, not even mediocre levels. Big Cheese, thank you, says, wonder which major next developmental program is about to enter the source selection phase cause of the funky contractor's behavior. Shall we discuss? It would be pure speculation. No idea.
I tell you what, I listen to some crazy stuff about AI going on these days. So it's probably going to be something pretty wild. I don't know.
Yeah.
Scary wild. Like
Big G says, and this bit goes right into Fox News. Damn it. Again.
Hey, but Gonky hard stock.
Rod Hardstock. HARDSTOCK.
Yeah.
Rod Hardstock.
That guy can say whatever he wants. Gonky, he's an idiot.
I believe we need a certain number of stealth aircraft in the beginning, but we need 4th gen replacement aircraft a lot worse, and we need them soon. Yeah.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Yeah. 100%. One more on the F-15EX operational lifespan is 20,000 hours versus 8,000. Dude, it's your work truck. It's Gonky's 2003 Dodge Ram versus 4 Dodge Ram. Sorry, but it's one might be the Corvette, but you're not going to take the Corvette through the mud. You need something that's going to haul the lumber around.
The EX will do it all.
Yeah, and we're not even sponsored by Boeing.
No.
But we could be.
Oh, that's funny.
TAC Air 42 says in DCS with the F-15E, they are already becoming upset with the JDAMs. They're claiming their aircraft modules are obsolete. Imagine the EX Bravo Zulu on the show. I wouldn't. I honestly,
DCS.
I'm not touching that one. Gonky, that's your comment. So
thanks, TAC, man. Yeah. Don't use DCS as your measuring stick, man.
No, DCS is good.
It's fun. That's it.
Just
have a good time.
I don't use DCS players as your measuring stick.
Wow.
I think that's it's not. Thank you, Goat.
Thanks, Goat,
for helping out Gonky with his. Douglas Rose says one more on the F-15EX operational lifespan is 20,000. I thought I covered that. I thought he said that.
Yeah, I highlighted it and then he super chatted it.
Oh, somebody guessed your call sign, dude.
Uh-oh.
In the chat.
Thanks for confirming it, or not.
Or not.
Or not.
Sorry, I was taken aback. I have no poker face, dude. Let's talk about some shrinkage. I was in the pool.
New in 2024, staffing up a shrinking Air Force. Okay, so this one is short enough. I'm going to read the whole thing. The Air Force in 2024 plans to shrink its uniformed force, but not by much. In the year ahead, the service hopes to number 502,700 enlisted airmen and officers across the active duty Air Force, Air National Guard, and Air Force Reserve, about 1,000 fewer uniform jobs than in 2023. Congressionally proposed cuts may drive the total slightly lower. The decline is linked to plans to retire multiple aircraft fleets, but also points to the Air Force's challenges in filling these roles. Staffing those billets requires the third largest branch of the U.S. Armed Forces to hit its recruiting goals, retain airmen who are already in uniform, and pull various policy levers to ensure staff are used wisely. Officials aim to reverse the service's recent recruiting woes and bring in 25,900 new active duty enlisted troops by the end of September 2024. The Air Force hopes adding more recruiters, changing policies around fitness and appearance, and chipping away at its own red tape will prevent last year's shortfall from becoming a longer trend. It seems to be working. As of December 8th, the service had reached its active duty enlistment goal of 6,342 people, while falling about 70 people short in the reserve and about 390 short in the Guard. We are trending well ahead of where we were the last time this time last year, Air Force Recruiting Service spokesperson, they actually said that, Leslie Brown said. Once a recruit comes in, the Air Force wants to keep them. The service expected to retain about 93% of its officers and 90% of its enlisted airmen in fiscal 2023, spokesperson Master Sergeant Deanna Heitzman said in August. It's trying to sweeten the deal with monetary bonuses, greater job flexibility, and other policies designed to improve quality of life, particularly in most crucially understaffed fields. It's also keeping troops in the service's lowest ranks longer to ensure that lagging recruitment doesn't lead to too few entry-level airmen, and increasing the number of years airmen can stay in uniform before they're kicked out, among other changes to the shape of the force. Meanwhile, the Space Force has already met its officer and enlisted recruiting goals for the year as it continues to expand. The nation's newest and smallest military service is projected to grow to 9,400 billets in 2024 and total 14,300 jobs overall.
You think we could fly something in the Space Force?
Probably some in DCS. That's about it.
So, I mean, obviously, when supply is less than demand, Space Force has no problem because nobody. I mean, that's not really an issue, dude. So, we're trying to do more with less because you've got two problems here. One, they're cutting, but two, we can't reach the recruiting goals.
Well, yeah, I mean, they're lowering the standard, and they are, I'm not about kicking people out, but usually they get rid of the people who aren't doing anything that don't promote. And here in the article, it's like, we're going to keep them longer. So I'm talking at entry level mover, not where you and I are. That's a whole nother problem, but
I see.
But, I mean, they're lowering lower the standard and then, keep the underperformers. That's how they're going to boost their numbers from the abysmal performance that they did, last year from recruiting, which I just think it's sad, man. I'm like, gosh, I mean, they're trying stuff, which you got to give them credit for that. But
dude, it's such a complicated problem because in some areas there are no shortages, like for retention or recruiting. For some areas like pilot, there's a shortage of retention, but not necessarily as much in the recruiting phase, although in some cases it is. And in some cases it's both, in some jobs they're maybe less desirable or people don't know enough about them. But, dude, this is something we've been dealing with for a while, right? The party had to stop. We had 20 years of huge budgets and wars that were driving huge budgets, and all the money had to go somewhere, and they needed more people, and they were doing all this stuff. They could be selective if they wanted to because the economy wasn't doing well and whatever. I mean, dude, I've talked about this from an economical perspective. We've been propping up our economy, the world economy even, for a very long time. And at some point the music's going to stop and the military is going to become much more desirable. Meanwhile, they don't have the budget to do it.
Yeah, I just think, I mean, I don't know, man. I think the whole reason why they're having a recruiting problem is because they decided to treat the military just like you're going to go work at Boeing, IBM, American, so whatever, a big corporate. It's like, it's exactly the same. So why would a young person join the military when they could just go work at a corporate job, have to put up with the same crap, make more money, and not get shot at? Because when I was a little kid, my dad would always tell me, he's like, man, you go to the military, it's about how well you perform, and it's it'll turn you into a man, it'll teach you how to fight, I mean, the John Wayne stuff, and that's, as a kid, I was like, that's what I want.
Well, they'll pay to turn you into a man now.
But that's what I'm talking about.
Medical procedures if you need it.
But that's the kind of stuff that is hurting them, and I'm not saying that stuff's right or wrong, but okay, so if you're going to act just like a civilian company by providing that kind of benefit, why would you go there? I wouldn't, I mean, looking at it objectively as a young person, I mean,
it goes back to what we were talking about before. One is messaging, because you've got a very information centric generation, because all they've ever grown. I mean, your kids have grown up with technology that you didn't. I mean, I don't know if you let them use iPads and stuff like that, but most of America does, even though you don't. So the 18, 19, 20-year-olds are growing up with TikTok. And we've talked about TikTok. It's 15 to 30 seconds worth of mind melt. And the information it's ADD fuel, ADHD fuel. It's just dopamine hit, dopamine hit, dopamine hit. And so everything is high reward as quickly as possible. And if I can't get a reward as quickly as possible, I move on to the next thing. Meanwhile, you've got, I hit 40 last year or this year. This is the most divided I've seen a country in my adult life. Like, I've never seen the levels of everything is a conspiracy on every side of the aisle. Everything's always a conspiracy. Everything is treason. Both sides are accusing of each other of treasonous acts. It's so divisive. Like, I remember before, you could disagree with somebody and it was a policy, not a person. You would say, well, I don't disagree with this. I mean, now granted, there would be the quips. I mean, even Reagan back in the day, I'm not going to make fun of my opponent's, younger age. It did happen, but it was more civil. Like, I don't remember a time where we got into this. And so what that transcends to is these kids that go, what am I going to go fight for? Because I don't believe in, no matter which side of the aisle you're on. Because if you're on one side, you're like, well, it's fascist government, America, there's no American exceptionalism. There's no desire, we're the invaders everywhere we go. We're bad. America's bad. Why would I want to fight for bad? And then there's the other side, which says, well, it's this big conspiracy. They're out to get me. They're watching me. Big Brother's watching me. America's bad because of, the current regime that's in place, that's throwing everybody in jail or whatever. I'm speaking generically here. But what I'm saying is both sides believe it. And when you have that, there is no patriotism when you think your government is the problem, for better or worse. And when you have no patriotism to go fight for your country, then it becomes the corporate thing. What can they do for me? And if you look at that and go, well, I can make X amount of money doing this here, or I can make, that in the civil sector, what's the point?
Well, that's what I'm saying. So they got to sell, make the Air Force again, right? They've gone away from that. And that guard that we played, that guard commercial a couple shows ago. Now that's a step in the right direction. But there are young people out there. I mean, I didn't know anything about politics or world stuff. I still don't. But when I was 20, I just had in my mind I wanted to do something, and that required me joining the military. And I think there's young people out there like that now, and that's what the military needs to focus on, being the military. Is what I'm saying.
Well, but that's partly because Number one, the people in charge have been in charge way too long.
Oh, I get it. I agree with you. Everything you said is 1000% right. But
but look at it. The people that have been in charge for like 60 years. Like we desperately need to get new blood, new faces everywhere. But the other piece to this too is, dude, when you and I joined, we were galvanized, dude. We've talked about this. We watched thousands of people die in real time on TV.
Yeah.
At that point, it did not matter who, what, when, where. We were just mad and we wanted to go kick some doors in.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's the Toby Keith song. We'll stick a boot in your ass. It's the American way.
That's what I'm saying. The military needs to promote military stuff. I mean, yeah, but I just think this article is sad because they're just looking at the numbers. I don't think they're doing the right steps to fix the problem. But that's just my own armchair quarterback. You know.
Yeah. Well, and dude, you can't be centrist anymore. That's the problem. You just can't. Nobody will let you. Nobody will let you, dude. There is no patriotism.
Is this show left or right, Mover? Go ahead.
You can't be. You can't be anything. Everybody gets mad at you.
Yeah.
For whatever reason.
I don't pay attention to it.
Gonky, you just don't want to talk about it. I get it. All right. Plexi says, your take on using $2 million missiles to shoot down $2,000 drones. How long is that feasible? How much does it cost to lose an American serviceman or woman or whatever? Hey.
Well, Plexi, I mean, yeah. Plexi has a point. He just, it's kind of like we joked about. How much was the Chinese balloon and how many missiles do we shoot at them?
Does it matter? Money's already spent.
But is it? I don't know, man.
Yeah, money's already spent. I mean, money's already spent.
I understand what he's saying. But you got a good point where it's like, well, if it's $2 million to keep it from blowing a hole in the side of a ship and sending it to the bottom of the ocean, then it's actually totally worth it because the ship was $2 billion.
Yeah. Michael Aiken, huh?
That's a police dog. Be careful.
Yeah, she is and you can't even be a cop without people hating you. For reference, Gonky setup at Wings, ProSim U3, GS5C, Brunner FSSB stick, butt kickers, SRS seat shaker, Thrustmaster rudders, Leap Motion 2, Wing setup, 75-inch LED TV, 7950X, 4090 Strix. Dude, how did you not win? God, dude.
Mike, thank you.
This was like 4D chess you were playing. Meanwhile, I'm sitting.
This is what I'm talking about. This is what I'm talking about. When I mean, how fortunate I am to have these guys, supporting the channel and Mover kicking my butt all the time. Mike, thank you. So I don't know any of those specs, but there it is. There it is.
Wow,
that's awesome. Thanks, Mike.
Wow, are the bad guys lowering their standards? So there's another philosophical answer. Who are the bad guys?
Mm-hmm.
There's dude, 80s, we had the commies.
Rocky.
I can't even say commies now with people getting mad at me. Like, commies are some people like the commies now. They want to be commies.
That's crazy, man.
Yeah.
I mean, their plan is working.
Yeah.
Who's they?
Seems like easy math. Less pilots equals more drones, UAVs. Ugh.
Yeah. Whether it's good or bad, I don't like it.
Luna, I need some emotional support after that comment. Doug, I do read USS history. I thought I was alone. Oh, Doug, you guys are big cheese. All right, moving on to the next. What are we at? Oh, yeah. Hey, so a little bit of GA news. As a man who's been wrongfully accused myself, Trent Palmer. Do you know this story, Gonky?
You've mentioned it before. Refresh my memory.
So Trent Palmer, he's one of the Sky Cowboys or something. He flies the STOL aircraft. I thought about this because we talked about air cams last week, which is why Google's probably recommending it to me. So he was going to a friend's house and he did this like low pass. And he's like, this was an intel gathering pass. And I did a go around and there was video and they said, well, hey, you were within 500 feet of another building. We're going to suspend your license for 120 days. And he took it all the way to the NTSB or whoever, the board. And, lost and is appealing the 120-day suspension of his license. And so in this article that Douglas has, which I've just summarized, the EAA and AOPA have both stepped up to help address the Federal Appeals Court on Palmer's behalf, maintaining the NTSB board was consistently ignoring provisions of the pilot's Bill of Rights. He noted that FAR 91-119 specifies altitude restrictions carry the qualification except when necessary for takeoff and landing. And he said that his low pass was necessary for takeoff and landing because, well, I was checking it out and I decided not to land. Punishing him for a prudent decision could induce other pilots to land to avoid a violation, even when better judgments. And then AOPA Legal Services has helped with this, as well as a petitioner brief on December 11th. And they have till January 17th to file a response. So I thought we could talk about that for a minute. Not much beyond.
It's a good example of why a lot of pilots hold the FAA in such high regard.
Well, and it goes back to what we were just talking about. People don't trust the government. Remember Reagan's, I'm from the government, I'm here to help you.
Bad.
It's bad. Yeah, when you hear those words, the most terrifying words in the English language.
I remember this story now, and we only know from what we've read. I don't know all the crazy details, but it sounds like he just did a low pass over a potential place he wanted to land to check it out. I've done that in Cessnas.
It was like a RC field or something. It was like a very small field next to this guy's house, and they got the security cameras or something. I don't know.
Yeah, how it's insane to me to think that. All right, let's just give it a shot for go for a landing the first pass. Why wouldn't you do? You can call it an inspection pass.
This might be personal, but I would say I think a lot of people in power tend to want to do the most severe thing as soon as possible. When even, let's say he's guilty, let's say he did it, he buzzed this place. What benefits the flying public more? Educating this guy and having him as part of his penance, like, hey, dude, you screwed up. Why don't we together educate the public? And, we're not going to suspend you because we think you flying actually helps general aviation. We think you're a good ambassador for aviation. Let's educate together. Let's do a campaign together. I guarantee you would have said yes.
Dude, the FAA doesn't care about general aviation. General aviation is dying.
Yeah.
It's a government agency. They don't need to make a profit to exist.
But I have that's a pretty cynical take, Gonky, because I have heard of some FAA examiners from FSDO say that our goal is to educate. Like they have come out and said that. They have said our goal is to educate. 9 times out of 10, we will not issue a violation if we don't have to. We use our discretion because our goal is to educate. And if in a cooperative situation, we would rather do the education.
I could see how this guy gets a violation from a disgruntled or an uneducated FAA type, but it surprises me that he took it, did the legal action to appeal it, and it they didn't overturn it. That's what surprised me. Either we're not hearing all of the story, so either he did do something that was not consistent with safe operation of the airplane, or it is literally the FAA just reinforcing the stigma that most pilots have about the FAA.
Yeah,
that's all I'll say about that. Luna knows. Look, she's out of here.
She's gone.
She's like, I'm out of here.
She left. I was watching her. She just pranced out. I'm like, what did you just do?
Yeah.
I'm kind of concerned about the way she walked out. All right, cool. Douglas, you got anything to add?
Not really. I followed it from the beginning. You have to really look for it. I couldn't find it on short notice, but you can actually see the footage.
Are we missing anything
of what happened? No. Well, other than the part where the guy whose land he was going to land on has a neighbor who doesn't seem to really like him or Trent. Maybe
is he an FAA guy?
No.
No, he's the one that reported it, though.
Yeah, it would have never been on anybody's radar otherwise.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'm not saying the FAA always makes the wrong decision. That's not what I'm saying. But this article is pretty.
Well, there was a recent. I saw this video thing about somebody landed a helicopter on their own house, and the whole neighborhood complained to the FAA because they're like, "Oh, it scared my dogs. Oh my God!" And it's like, yeah.
I mean, I mean, you're a cop. You just give the guy a warning. I mean,
I do give warnings.
that's what I'm saying.
I'm all about the warnings. I think the process is the education.
Yeah,
and I can speak for that firsthand, having been through it. The process sucks.
Well, yanking a guy's license for 120 days, how is that educating him?
That's what I said. Gonky, did you listen to nothing that I said? That what they should have done was cooperate, collaborate.
I agree with you, and I'm reinforcing your fact of like, hey, their slogan of "We're here to educate" is maybe I don't agree with it. I don't know.
Well, here's the thing I've learned with the government. When they dig in, so in a case like this, right? Two sides. Let's say it started in a situation, because this is what happens when you've got a situation where one party in authority doesn't understand or gets angry, uses emotion, and maybe not 100% backed in facts or logic or reason or even the law. Let's call it that. They dig in, okay? And then party B fights it because they're like, well, holy shit, that's not fair. I'm not going to, no, look at this. Well, then the entire organization defends itself. They circle the wagons. So at every level above that, nobody will then, because the government it's a self-licking ice cream cone. It exists because of itself. Like it doesn't really offer much beyond itself. So to protect itself, everyone above that, i.e. in this case, all the way up to the NTSB, well, they're going to say, yeah, we're right. No, we're right. And we're not going to say we're wrong, because at that point, it snowballs to the point that it's a huge deal if they say they're wrong. So they're going to dig their heels in. And when you get beyond a certain point, there is no return. Now it has to be the appeals court, and it has to be this big fight, because once you
like a swamp.
It does get swampy.
Sounds like a swamp I've heard about.
Swampy swamps. All right. Turkey has a 5th-gen fighter. Gonky, that's your story.
Yeah, this is wild. I had no clue. I don't know, Doug. Did you? I don't have multiple screens. You want to summarize it, or?
Yeah, it's pretty much just what the headline says. Turkey has set a date for the maiden flight of their 5th-generation fighter jet. It's called the Khan. And let's see. On March 17th, the TFX National Combat Aircraft 5th-generation stealth fighter jet emerged from the hangar for the first time and positioned itself on the runway, while it was officially given the name Khan by President Recep Erdogan in a ceremony held in TAG headquarters. Wow, there's a lot of pronunciations. I'm not even going to try. It's a 21 meter, 69 foot. There you go. They got that right.
Nice. It's going to be a smashing success.
There you go. Can reach a maximum speed of 1.8 Mach, thanks to its twin engines, which produce 29,000 pounds of thrust.
60,000, almost 60,000, 58,000, almost 60,000 pounds of thrust. But how much does it weigh?
It doesn't say. It's 29. Let's see. 20. So is it 29,000 each? Yes. Holy
That's
cow.
what it says, yeah.
Khan boasts all technologies and features found in 5th-generation warplanes that will provide the opportunity to strategically attack air-to-air and air-to-ground targets. Has completely domestic infrastructure for secure data sharing and the use of smart munitions.
Yeah, so I had no idea. Mover, did you have any idea that Turkey was developing a 5th-gen fighter? So like when I saw that picture, I was like, they put a picture of a Raptor, but that's actually the airplane.
Has it flown? I micronav.
Tomorrow.
Did it fly?
Tomorrow is his maiden flight. So I did a little research on this, and it's pretty fascinating because, like I said, I've never heard of this. Like it's never in any threat brief or any of that stuff. And they started developing. So they fly the F-16, right, Turkey, and they want a replacement for the F-16, and they don't want to rely on anybody else, right? What if they're not friendly to the Americans or the Russians or whatever? They want their own airplane. So they've stood up their own tactical aviation industry, and they reached out, for help developing aircraft, but they started this in 2010, and in 12, 13 short years, here's their first stab at it. And I think it's pretty cool. I have no idea what the capabilities are. I mean, nobody does. At least I couldn't find anything concrete when I was reading through the interwebs, but it looks a lot like an F-35 and a Raptor and an Eagle kind of had a three-way. And
it's one thing to design it and fly it. It's another thing to mass produce it.
Yeah. And I'm going to totally just looking at the picture. So if you remember when we had Rick, right, the engineer on?
Yeah.
So like, if you look at the back of this thing, it has
the canopy opens the wrong way, just like
right. F-35. Now look at look at the tailpipe. So the tailpipes are round, right? So like, I remember Rick saying that's not real good for. Yeah,
but that's what the Su-57 does.
But that's what I'm saying. When we were talking about the Su-57 with Rick, he's like, that's, the round tailpipes. See, there they are. That's very conventional.
Oh, it looks like an Eagle.
That's what I'm saying. It looks like a Raptor and an F-35 and an Eagle all kind of got together and had a little baby, a little baby
DNA test.
But obviously we're right. The thrust is pretty crazy. But why does it go Mach 1.8? It probably doesn't have any kind of variable geometry inlet, because that's kind of what limits the Hornet at those 1.8-ish speeds. But it'll be super interesting. I'm like I said, I had no idea.
It is, because when you told me this, or when I saw this, I was like, oh, it's going to be like that. Was it the Iranian 313, the one that looked like a Vans RV8 cockpit that they just got, they had like a Garmin 430 off the shelf and a bunch of other stuff.
Total publicity stunt.
Yeah, it was just wooden, like it didn't it didn't exist. This exists, and
this is a real plane.
Yeah. So here's the other thing I know I didn't know before having this channel. I've learned a lot about geopolitics in my comment section. So one of the big things right now is, the Greeks, the Hellenic Air Force, and the Turkish Air Force. Those people hate each other. NATO countries, but they hate each other, and they're constantly intercepting each other. So, Turkey has kind of shied away from NATO a little bit in kind of their interactions, some of the stuff they've done with Russia and, all that stuff. So how does this play? Is Russia helping them in development as much as the U.S.? Like, are they getting, what sides are they playing?
I watched a bunch of stuff and read a bunch of stuff, but it's like Saab has helped them a little bit.
Okay.
I mean, didn't the F-16 have 29,000 pounds of thrust, right?
Yeah, it's about, depends on which engine. Yeah, 28, 30, maybe.
So it wouldn't surprise me if, they've been using the Viper for many years. So they probably, rightfully so, have borrowed some technology and this is the first hack at it. But I think it's incredible that in basically a decade they can stand this up, create a real airplane. I mean, we'll see if it flies tomorrow.
F-110, 129s. Those are
those are GE, right? Or no, those are Pratt motors. Yeah,
Block 52 engines.
Right. So I just think it's really cool that a small country like that is in that amount of time is able to put something that at least looks 5th gen. I
would like to see it. Yeah, it'd be cool to fly.
Because I had literally no idea. I thought, honestly, when I first saw it, I was like, oh, this is like one of those. This is one of those 2-seat F-35 articles. So. Every now and then, AI gets it right. Yeah.
All right. My cock is making us come into work tomorrow, even though the base is closed, just to keep us busy. This is why certain jobs probably struggle with the retention.
Thanks, man.
Zippers forever. Do subscribers get any chat benefits? Yes. we try to get to them as we can if it's relevant to talk about. So the flight lead and above have the chat benefits, and the mission commander level can do Discord. Can you mention Captain Bob Pardo recently dying in the Pardo's Bush?
I didn't know he died.
Yeah, you did? No, it was a couple weeks ago.
Yeah. Well, the Pardo push was right. He put the tail hook. His buddy put the tail hook down. He pushed him with his airplane.
Yeah,
Crazy.
He was at Noonan's thing a while back. He was there at the golf place when they opened the golf course. Mover doesn't get paid enough to write citations. Mover doesn't get paid.
Yeah, you could just stop there.
Yeah. Mover gets no money.
No monies.
No monies, no movers, which is good. Moving on. The congressional investigation of the Osprey. So the Osprey has crashed a lot lately. And so Congress has launched an investigation into the Osprey program. Douglas, the summary, sir.
That was the summary. A congressional oversight
Osprey bad. Next.
Launched an investigation into the V-22 Osprey program following the most recent, I'm making that part up, following a deadly crash in Japan, which killed 8 Air Force Special Operations Service members. The entire Osprey fleet remains grounded. And I'm looking for part of the article where they mention how many people have been killed total.
Yeah, it's replacing the C2.
Not a mistake by the crew. All 3 versions are grounded. Face persistent questions about a mechanical problem. I swear I looked this up last time we talked about the Osprey, and it's somewhere in the 60s in terms of the number of people who've died since the inception of the program. It might be less. I'll go look it up again while you guys talk.
Yeah. So anytime Congress gets involved.
Yeah.
I
think long story short, it's a new technology kind of, and they're just
the tilt rotor idea,
they're just figuring it out, man.
It's new operational. Well, it's mechanical. So, all right. So 10 fatal crashes killing 57 people.
23 years. Wow. Yeah.
That's still a long time. Like, no crashes are good. But
they're still figuring things out with the F-16, the F-8. Whatever problem they find, there'll be some sort of engineering fix, and there'll probably also be some sort of procedural fix, and that's where you get these procedures are written in blood, right? That was pounded into my cranium.
Yeah, does that require congressional involvement? I don't know. That's obviously the very definition of it's getting political. But when we lose good people, we obviously want to know the answer. But 23 years is a long time, and even 57 losses in 23 years, that's still. Like I said before, do I think it's safe? I think overall, yes, but I think there's stuff that they need to figure out, and. Whatever's causing this, it could just be the operational, the way it's being operated. It's like you said, it's something that they're still figuring out in the operational envelope that they may have to dial back, or, some maintenance processes might have to change or something like that. But I think after 23 years, they should figure it out. That should be something. But helicopters are just dangerous, dude. That's
yeah,
they crash a lot.
Yeah,
it's a helicopter plus fixed wing, so it's the worst of both worlds, traveling faster and with more people. Yeah. So we were just talking about before the break, or before we started, about a Chinook where an iPad got wedged into the anti-torque pedals and resulted in a mishap because the iPad fell off the mount. It's a dangerous thing. And
unfortunately, the V-22, it's kind of it's a very unique flying machine. So it's not like there's a lot of them out there and they're just accumulating a lot of hours to figure this stuff out. That's why I think it's happening over time. I don't know. It's either way you look at it, it's sad. They're going to find out what's wrong with it. And I'm confident it'll get fixed. It's just, it's just sad that
23 years is a long time.
Yeah.
To me, that's just, that's operational almost. You know, I mean, if you've been doing this for 23 years, you've got the technology figured out. Now it's just a matter of figuring out the operational side of things. You know, fatigue, maintenance. You know, how many the life cycle and all that stuff. Like that's where you're starting to figure out how many hours before you need to start tearing stuff apart and replacing stuff. So
they're gonna find out.
Did we want to talk about the FHP? It's a little bit different than what we're used to.
I don't know a lot about it. I'll give you my completely unprofessional opinion.
Douglas.
I'll be the guy in the peanut gallery with.
So here's the backstory, right? Florida, Opelika. This
great state, by the way.
Florida highway patrolman was in the middle of a pursuit, and he, the guy fled a traffic stop. And so he takes off and he's running code, which means lights and sirens. And he sees this car that's driving erratically. And he's like, that's my guy. And so our story begins as he's in the middle of a pursuit with said suspect. Roll the tape.
Video you'll see only on Local 10 of an FHP trooper stopping a speeding car only to discover it was being driven by another law enforcement officer. That trooper thought he was on the tail of a reckless driver.
And he was shocked to find out who it really was. Local 10 of Margot is live in Miami.
Can we skip to the video? We don't need all that. Right there.
Another cop.
Yeah, so he pits this guy. And watch this. He turns his lights on.
Technique that are known as a pit maneuver, but they normally aren't used against other law enforcement officers.
Oh, I didn't see your lights.
Because they weren't on, sir.
This incident happened on November 29th. Florida Highway Patrol received reports of a car that fled a traffic stop and was driving recklessly. After a bit of driving and following directions from dispatch, the trooper recording this dash cam video gets behind a
I understand none of this,
Kia
by the way.
and begins to follow. They leave the 826 and continue eastbound on Northwest 167th Street before making the left turn to go north on Northwest 12th Avenue. Then, right as they approach Park
It's a beautiful pit.
Boulevard,
Oh yeah,
It is
drives
textbook.
the Kia and performs the pit.
In the middle of the pit, he turns the
Then
lights on.
Watch carefully.
Yeah.
The driver of the Kia leans over and
Dude's in
turns
a
on
Kia.
his
He's got enough
own
problems.
red and blue light. Turns out it was the wrong car. Instead of
This
stopping,
reminds me of when I accidentally shot my flight lead a couple times.
It is a fratricide.
air to air. It's like a blue on blue, and then I'm getting yelled at in the debrief. This is
This donut needs to cover this, donut operator. But dude, so I've run code to a lot of stuff, and I've been around people running code, which means lights and sirens. People don't get out of the way typically, but they don't usually continue with your pursuit. Like if usually somebody in front of you that's driving like that, going to something, either has their lights on because they're going with you, or they're the bad guy. Typically, so I have many questions. One, was the captain part of the pursuit? In which case, where was he going? Because the Mercedes was long gone. They had already bit off on the wrong thing. So where was the captain going? Second was, did he not notice the car with lights and sirens on behind him? And did he not think, hey, I need to get out of the way? Because I've been not involved in something in a fully marked unit with my own lights and sirens, and I have yielded to emergency vehicles because you still have to obey the law. So what this then looks like is a dude that was driving erratically that just happened to be in the same area that as soon as the guy, because you can see on the dash cam video, you can see that he's driving like an asshole. And so the trooper's like, well, that's him. It's dark. I get it. Some of the Kias now look like Mercedes. Okay, fair enough. Although at some point he probably should have been like, hey, what am I actually chasing? But, it's that whole dog and rabbit thing, right? You see something running and you're like, that's the guy. So for me, I put more of the blame on the captain because interagency wise, and I don't know, Doug, if you remember this, 10-ish years ago, there was an FHP woman that pulled over marked, I think it was Dade County unit, because he was going to a detail at 120 miles an hour. And so she does the traffic stop and she arrests him. And they were like the FOP or not the FOP, but the union was like threatening her. They were like sending stuff to her house and stuff because they were so mad that she had arrested another cop. South Florida's got a whole Opelika, mid Florida area.
Opelika is in the middle of Miami.
Yeah, South Florida. They've got issues with this. But to me, procedurally, if you're part of the pursuit, your lights need to be on. Well, first of all, you can't be primary in an unmarked vehicle. I don't know of any agencies that will allow you to be the primary pursuit with an unmarked vehicle because of just this. So if he was part of the pursuit, he should have been yielding. If he wasn't part of the pursuit, he should have been yielding. And if he wasn't a dumbass, he should have been yielding. Like, there's no reason not to yield in this case.
Dude, he went into the fight without squawking. I mean,
except he's oblivious.
That's what I'm saying.
Like, you can't, dude, you didn't check your mirrors once because that looks like he's fleeing. Like, when you're driving like that, it looks like you're fleeing.
And he's like, I got caught. Let me turn these on.
Yeah, I got caught. Let me turn these on. And he had a vest on and stuff. Looked like he was going to something. He was just a captain. First of all, captains aren't going to pursuits. They're not going to that. He's not involved. He shows up. He's admin. He shows up like 2 hours later to, oh, yeah, hey, what do we got, guys? Like, there's no reason for that. He's just driving like an asshole.
I'm a total layman, dude, but it looks pretty suspect to me. Like, what were you doing, man?
Yeah. I don't know.
Cool video, though.
Yeah, he
perfectly executed.
It's not. That doesn't look good. It just doesn't look good. Anyway, Kate says, thank you for being here for us at the holidays.
Thanks, Kate.
Zippers Forever. Turkey had full access to the F-35 design and data and were building components before they bought S-400 and were kicked out. Yeah, there's that. Scandalous. Nathan says, the Black Hawk is very safe and beloved aircraft, but its crash rate isn't that far behind the Osprey. I don't know how comparable the situations are, but the difference of public perception is major. I think it's worse. I mean, I bet it's more than those numbers.
Yeah, I mean, the Black Hawk is used. I mean, there's so many more of those. I mean,
dude, a guy owns one. Diesel Cletus. Dave or whatever. No, Cletus has a BO 105 that's from his old helicopter. A new Police Academy 5. This is at Auburn alum says a new Police Academy 5. This one is Florida man joins the academy. This guy knows better. He knows better. Gonky, you're in an IROC and full mullet with blue and red flashing lights behind you. You hit the brakes. You made a bad choice.
Yeah, that's true.
Just dumb.
Dude, that's funny. T-tops out.
Let us move on to the mental health minute. So this one's a little different. So we've talked about kind of what happens when things aren't going well. And we've talked about, how to deal with failure, how to move on, all that stuff. But this one came to my attention previously because I'd never heard of it before. And I was like, man, that's super interesting. So the arrival fallacy is basically people get sad because they work their entire lives. And that's why this applies here, because a lot of people work their entire lives for this profession. They work their entire lives to get somewhere. And then once they get there, they're like, wasn't what I thought it was going to be. And there's no sense of fulfillment. They don't get that sense of fulfillment that they thought they were going to get because, well, they had hyped it up so much in their mind. And by the time they got there, they're like, well, okay, well, I don't have anything left. And so people get sad. They get sad because they've got nothing else. And you see this a lot in like high performing professions. But in general, in the article that I was reading, or at least some of the advice was, the way around it was you've got to be a little bit multidimensional. And we've talked about this for failure where, you say, well, hey, you need hobbies, you need backup plans, you need something that keeps you going, something to live for when things aren't going well. Well, the same thing applies when things are going really well, because if you don't and you become one-dimensional, sometimes you get there and you're like, wow, this is it. But and we were talking about this before the show about billionaires that don't just stop. Elon Musk became a billionaire and didn't just stop. He's like, well, I want to put a man on Mars. I want to keep, I'm going to take over Twitter. I'm going to do this, because these high performing individuals, when they get there, if they stop, they're going to be sad because there's nothing left. So you'll see a lot of people pivot and have to have these other hobbies and stuff like that. And sometimes it's not what you thought it would be, but you're getting funneled into something else. And one of the things I'm going to talk about when I do the 2023 wrap up, when we're asking you about that, is sometimes things either work out or don't work out, and you find yourself in a position where you didn't expect to be there, but you're kind of glad you ended up there because you were kind of put in a position that, like the Rolling Stones song, you can't always get what you want, but sometimes you get what you need. And that is where you wind up overall, even though, you might have already achieved everything, but at the end of the day, you end up doing something better. So Gonky, I don't know if you have anything better for that.
No, I mean, right. I was like, oh, well said, Mover. Not a whole lot to add. No, it's a real thing. I mean, I was talking with Doug before the show. I'm like, hey, we do mental health. And he's like, yeah, arrival fasting. I'm like, what is that? And, it's, and we were talking before the show, fighter pilot, professional sports player, right? Like you achieve your lifelong goal in your 20s. Now what kind of thing, right? So, you talked about people achieving their goals and then, getting there and then being sad about it. I mean, it's a real thing. I've said before, I'm a Christian. I believe God's got a plan for you. And, if you seek that, you'll continue, you will continue to do, what you were put here to do. But where I come from, man, small town, you work at the factory, you retire and you die, right? Because it's like when they stop work and they lose that purpose, right? So I think it is important to always have a purpose. I think that's where the high performing people, you talk about Elon Musk. I just think they're problem solvers, man. They're just out there looking to fix things and do things. And I mean, that's what on a much smaller scale, that's what, you and I do that kind of stuff.
You see it with dogs, dude. You take a high drive, high performing dog and you don't give it a job, it'll tear everything up.
Yeah.
It'll tear your house up. You've got to keep them busy. Yeah. You got to keep them busy. And our minds are incredibly powerful, both for and against us. And once we hit where we think we're supposed to be, and then everything else is going to be a disappointment unless you keep going towards that next thing. And so, here's if you're going through it, man, talk to somebody. Don't let it eat you up inside, because your friends can help you refocus. They can help you understand the path that you're on, because sometimes we get so stuck on our own drama and our own lives that we're looking at ourselves through a microscope, and we can't open that aperture. We can't take that 10,000 foot view. But if you go to your friends, and if you family, friends, chaplain, medical professionals, anybody that is willing, some of the counseling services, like we've talked about, Military One Source, all that stuff, they can help you, see the bigger picture, and see that there might be more. When I sat down at drill the other day, and I was bummed because we were talking about Gonky's big decision, but Mover had made it about Mover, right? Because I was sad because I wasn't invited to the show, right? And he talked about sometimes you're being funneled away from what you think you want to be funneled to something better or something more fitting. So just because in this case, we're talking about the arrival fallacy, just because you achieved it, okay, well, been there, done that. Maybe that was just a prerequisite for whatever's next. And maybe that was just your first step moving on. Maybe you are more than the sum of your experiences. You are more than that. So you have to move on to the next thing, or else you're going to be like that German Shepherd that has no job. You can't just rest. Doug, what do you got?
Gonky mentioned we were talking about this before the show, and I want to say you said this during the show too, Gonky, that having kids is like seeing things for the first time. For me, that's a big part of this. Okay, so I've arrived. I've spent X number of years learning how to drive race cars, and then I find myself in a position to teach other people, and I see new people learning the thing for the first time. I've spent 30 some years now going over the same stuff over and over and over again for a new crop of people every semester. And it's always new because it's new for them. I think that's worth remembering. That was in the notes that Mover put together on this one about volunteering your time. If you've arrived, help other people arrive, and it will make the whole thing new again.
Yeah, you share the joy, man. It's awesome. It's really cool.
Yeah.
And a really good Christmas movie everybody should have watched was It's a Wonderful Life. And it kind of,
dude, every year I watch that.
Yeah, I just watched it yesterday.
Yeah. Well, not yesterday. Sunday night I watched it. That's our Christmas tradition.
Yeah.
Is me to try to watch it while everybody won't shut up. But
I will confess to a teenage crush on Donna Reed because
gosh, I know. I'm like, man, she's a pretty woman.
Yeah, that's a good movie. It's a good movie, but it's amazing how it's withstood the test of time all these years later, and the message is still the same.
Yep.
So, okay. Anything else to add on the arrival fallacy? Before we wrap this up, we got a couple of messages from the audience before we bid the good night. Zippers Forever says, never love something that can't love you back. You can love flying, but don't fall in love with the enabler, aka your employer.
Yeah.
Yep.
I'll get you.
RT Dixon. Sorry I'm late, boys. Was out flying a real P-51 today.
Oh.
Yes, have BFM'd in real life with Vipers, A-10, P-51, F-1, Focke-Wulf, 190, etc. P-51 is still deadly. If BVR is off the table, 220 knots, the P-51 is a little slow.
Dang, dude, I'm so jealous. I'm so jealous.
Yeah. So how do why don't I?
Mover's looking. Hey, if you need somebody to keep the engine warm for you, Mover.
Dude, I'm in. I will go. I'm a decent. I can torque roll the hell out of the thing.
Yeah, gosh, that's awesome.
Zippers Forever says the pupper dog right there has a job. Also wants to go for walk number 4 and ball throwing session number 5 for a day. None of my dogs have ever been into the whole fetch thing. Maybe it's just me. Like, I don't know. They fetch like once and they're like, never mind. Scouts in the Sky says 18N finally took a knee and reached out to a counselor via military one source, compartmentalized too much for way too long. Hell yeah.
Nice, man.
100%. It's a great resource. It's non-medical counseling. They'll give you up to 12 free sessions. If they determine that it's actually something that requires medical counseling, then obviously they'll refer you because they won't do it. But you've got that. There's a lot of military family health counselors now embedded in squadrons, which I think is a wonderful thing. It helped me a lot. There's chaplains, which are awesome. Even if you're not religious, you can go talk to them. If it comes down to it, medical professionals, dude, if it gets to that point, call 911. Don't let this end your hope, because I'm here to tell you that no matter how bad you think it's getting, how many people you think are against you, you can come out of this on the other side. It may not be what you thought. It may not be, you may not be raging around in a Viper like you'd hoped, but you'll be here to talk about it. And, I'm living proof of that. So anyway, cool. Well, that is it. There's no more starred things. I believe it's time to say goodbye.
Yeah. And next Monday is New Year's, so
what are we doing, dude?
Well, listen, man, it's when I'm dealing with high command, it's
do you have permission? Have you asked? You should have asked. You should ask both at the same time, so you'd be in trouble for the same thing at one time and not have to be in trouble twice.
It's strategic, dude. So I've got to form a battle plan, and
have you thought maybe your strategies
not good? Yes.
Yeah. Have you thought maybe,
or she's just that much better? I'm not sure.
Can we get her on the show?
No, dude.
Can we?
If it's 6 days away, it's tactics, not strategy.
Yeah.
See, I'm already behind.
Well, I may be racing on New Year's Day, so
Well, we can always flex, but we'll see. We'll see. We'll definitely put something together.
yeah.
find
Zippers Forever says ComNav House
Yes.
must be consulted.
Yeah, I just work here.
Dude, you're like mopping the parking lot level of. You're not even middle management, dude.
I joke. My daughter, I know she thinks I'm just like I'm the driver. You know.
Well, dude, that's like Luna. I'm the treat dealer and her
Yes.
bodyguard / manager. I don't have any
Oh, yeah.
say over what we do.
You're her live-in ama.
Yeah, I'm her au pair.
Pretty much.
You heard she came in at 8:30. Like, hey, it's bedtime. What are you doing here? She was early tonight. I don't know what I guarantee you she's already in bed now. All right. Well, Doug, dude, as always, we appreciate your service to our country and our channel.
Thanks, Doug.
Thanks for inviting me.
And thanks everybody for showing up.
Check out the P-51 versus Hornet coming soon Friday.
Yep.
9 o'clock, 9 a.m. release time.
Friday.
Don't mess it up, Gonky. All right. Good night, everybody.
Good night, everybody. Thank you.